Hello, hello, ladies. I'm gonna start recording over here too, so you'll hear sound. Hi. So, hello, ladies of the Wild and Awakened Woman. Ooh, it's such an exciting name. It makes me like, wow, I haven't really taken it all the way in and gone with it as much as I want to, Tribe. So, I'm Tanya Dantes, in case you didn't know me yet, and I am so buzzing to be here with you. I actually just did a live in my Spanish speaking group, which was amazing, and it went a little bit over because it was just so good. There was actually really a lot of engagement and a lot of comments and a lot of conversation. Just grew into a big conversation, and it was so juicy that I'm late, but I'm here, and I wanted to bring some of that the juiciness of it, because really it got juicy. And so I think I'm gonna just cut to the chase of the heart of the conversation, which is like, what are we doing here? Like, who the heck are we? Like, why are you here? Why am I here? Our life is sacred. I mean, if that word is strange for you, like sacred, it's what I mean by that is it's precious. Like, we have a certain amount of time or life here that we get to live, and we don't know how long that's going to be. That's never like a guarantee. And this stuff called life, like, what is it even? It's even hard to like explain how we got here, how we made it, except, of course, like, we can explain it yes, there was a sperm and there was an egg, and, even looking at it that way, if you look at it that way, I think there's like a 1 in like a trillion, 15 trillion chance that like your sperm and your egg would have made you. So like, how unique is it and all of that. So like, whether you look at it through the scientific lens or the spiritual, metaphysical lens, it's a precious life we've got here. So I like to ask questions, and I like to think about, like, what am I doing here? And I wanted to say that for me, a lot of my life, I am, I'm a therapist, for example. I'm a therapist, right? And the whole online coaching world for me, sometimes it's like, oh my God, I don't, and say hi when you join so that I know who it is. Sometimes when the whole like online coaching world, and you're bombarded with like, you should do it like this, and you need to do this, and you need to have pre-plan your week and have all the content made and do this, and you have to like look like this when you go on the live, and you have to have it list made of what you're going to talk about, and you have to do this, you have to do, and it can get so heavy and like overwhelming that you're just like, it just doesn't matter, and like I lose all kind of desire to do that thing. And so I was talking about in the other Spanish speaking group, I need to take a sip. I've been talking for a long time, so give me a second here. Here's something that I'm just gonna cut to the chase and say, which is something that for me in the English speaking groups, for some reason, I've resisted saying and talking about. And it's that I am a soul living in a body. Like, that is the truest, like, that is a true thing, that I'm that soul having a human experience. And sometimes when things get very human, like, we're surrounded with distractions and obligations and duties and roles we have to play, we can get attached to those things, to these ideas and these, sometimes they're problems or issues or people that we're attached to. Sometimes they're really pretty distractions, like make more money doing this, or you fall in love, or, you can just get totally identified with roles and things you're supposed to do and plans and all this stuff, that we kind of forget to take a step back and like really remember who we are, like who I am beyond Tanya, the psychologist, or, Tanya, the mom, the daughter, Like I am this energy, this soul living on the earth, and I'm having all of these experiences and adventures. And when I allow myself the space and the opportunity to really experience and like experiment and savor them, it changes the flavor of what I'm already doing and living. Does that make sense? So it's a very different experience for when I do my to-do list, for example, in this sort of distracted, like, oh God, I got to get this stuff done, and like, oh my God, then when I'm coming at it in an embodied, that's the word in English, in an embodied, like I'm actually a soul getting the chance to like move this body around and like feel what this feels like on my body, and like, yummy, I have, what does this taste like? And like, I'm getting to play these roles, and it's fun, and I get to connect with other beings, which is one of the funnest things there is on this planet. I love connecting with people. And really, that's what brings me here to Facebook and to this group, the Wild and Awakened Woman, is to connect with you. And something that's been kind of funky or weird for me is that I'm now seeing it now that I'm like having this reflection, which is the awesome thing about reflecting. Hey, Olivia. Yay. It's nice to connect, right? And so I hope that you're here. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I knew it. Hold on. Give me a second. My son is knocking. Hold on a second. This is one of my distractions and one of the roles I have. He may come in here in a second. And this happened in my other live too. And it's like the realist that it can be, which is that he's still on vacation from kindergarten. So, hey, yeah, I just saw your comment, Olivia. Nice to see you. And feel free to like comment and like, you know, as like a dialogue if you feel called to, if you feel it. So it makes things always juicier. So like he's home from kindergarten, and I know you have this also with your children, and like it can be such a distraction, right? And when you're trying to do things as you should or you're supposed to, and like how it's supposed to look, it can make being on the online world or like any kind of business, I imagine, hard because, you know, I just don't have the time or the attention or the focus sometimes to like, okay, I'm gonna plan my social media for the week, and then not only plan it, but like have the time to like sit here and like at 1 o'clock I'll post this, then at 2 o'clock I'll do this. It's like, no, I'm like gonna take him to the park right now, and like, no, right now he was playing outside and he wants to come in while I'm doing this live. I'm not gonna like ignore that. And so it's just that way. And if I stay stuck with my idea of like, do you feel me on this, Olivia? I mean, I know you've got the little ones at home. It's like if I stay stuck with the idea of like how it's supposed to be or how it should be, or if I'm down on myself, ooh, even worse, like if I'm hard on myself, which I'm guilty of doing, like I've totally done this. If I'm hard on myself for it being a certain way and not the way like I imagine it, then I won't ever do anything. And I've decided to go with the flow from now on. It's so much easier. Totally. Yeah. We were just talking about that in another group, like the dance. What is flow? Like for me, I love that word too, flow. For me, I was calling it a dance. It's like a dance between, and so what the tips I was giving is like, you know, you have those times where you feel like you're too in like, you could say too in flow, like things are too relaxed, you don't have enough structure. And I can be like super, like I have my moon in Pisces, and today's full moon in Pisces, and like super psychic and intuitive and like, woo, like who am I? And like, what am I here? And it's like, I feel like I have no grounded, like not grounded. And so when that happens, I know I have to like pull the reins in a little bit and do something really grounded. For me, it's exercise. So like from that soul up there, like that's so open and everything and all possibility, I got to put my 2 feet on the ground, on the earth, like pretty much literally, and feel what it is to be in this body. And from there, when I connect to that, and each person has their way of connecting, whether, you know, it's exercise, yoga, anything. For me, it's like different kinds of exercise. Sometimes it's dance. I do the Tracy Anderson method, or sometimes it's, like I do dance or belly fit or yoga or some kind of movement. And just got certified to do Zumba. So I'm like doing my choreographies to start teaching my first Zumba classes. And each one, like I just feel into what do I need to do today. So like I did my Zumba today, and then like that kind of leads me to my next natural step. And then that leads me to my next natural step. And then I also make lists, and it helps me to like do brain dumps and like get it all out. And like, and then another thing that really helps me is the concept or idea of integrity. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the best example I've heard is the wheel. And like we all have like our whole self is a wheel. And when one of the pieces is broken or not whole, it doesn't roll very well. So we're always going to be seeking to be whole and complete. And how do we do that? By looking at the things that we said we would do. So like honoring our word and our agreements with ourselves and others. Like, yeah, that's like a huge one. So what have I been saying I'm going to do? And then looking very honestly at that and saying, why am I not doing it? Is it because it's not for me? Is it because, is it really coming from a should place? Is it really coming from something that isn't me? Is this really my priority, or is it like what I've been taught should be my priority? Is this, am I resisting because I'm self-sabotaging? Am I resisting because I'm tired, or I'm being lazy, or my little girl needs attention, my inner child's having some kind of tantrum? Like that whole like work of looking at why we're not doing something, that's the loving ourselves. That's like repairing, all the, things we didn't get from our childhood kind of thing. That's like us showing up for ourselves, like in a hardcore way. And sometimes we're going to be too tired to even like do that, even with ourselves. Because, like parenting takes a lot of work, whether it's with ourselves or with our children. And to like do that for ourselves, sometimes we won't show up for ourselves. But even getting honest about that, like, why am I not showing up for myself in that way? Like, why am I not able to like check in with my own resistance to checking in with myself? Why am I just not, why would I rather freaking Netflix than like face myself right now? Why can't I even like do my spiritual practice or journal right now? And like, that's the work. And so like, I just got taken for a ride, like huge. I don't know if it was like the eclipse. I don't know if it was, I don't know what. Today I do know that it's in the Mayan calendar, it's like 10 days of really intense, like they're called galactic activation portal days, which are like really intense energy, and it's an opportunity to like really show up. And it's also full moon in Pisces. My moon is in Pisces, and I don't know what it is, but I think Mercury went direct again. And hey, whoever's here too, hey, besides Olivia, I know Olivia, you're here, but welcoming someone else, welcome to our chat over here on being true to yourself. So, and anyone who's watching it on replay, welcome too. I'm gonna catch all your comments. So I was taken for this ride, and like today, oh my God, I just like, it's been a process of like coming back down to earth. Like I said, my son's been on vacation and he'll be back in kindergarten on Monday, and I'm like, I know that's gonna be a big day for me to have the space to like really get grounded and focused too. But like, I didn't let, this stop me. And today, like, yesterday did my workout, and I made my lists, and I started like really looking at what the heck up. And one of the things I looked at is my connection with you guys in this group, and why I resist. And, there's always like, there's emotional components, and then there's logistical, like I need time, I need space, what am I going to talk about, all that kind of stuff. And there's like, well, I feel afraid of this, or like I'm not owning this, or whatever. And so looking at that is so huge. And I wanted to share like that I don't like all of those like online, like should, like that can stop me so much sometimes. Like it kind of can drive me a little bit crazy, like all of the expectations of what you're supposed to do in an online business. Plus, the biggest one for me is that you're supposed to like know what to call yourself all the time. And I wanted to be really honest with you guys that I am a therapist, and like I have tried so many times to be like, so I help women, bust through this, or like and I just always come back to I'm a therapist. Because, and maybe you don't have such a like an amazing relationship with the word therapist or like psychologist as I do, but the thing is that for me, like what it means is that it's a kind of listening, a kind of space that I hold for women, and the way I work with women, which is like I hear them and I reflect them to themselves, and that's basically what I do. Like that is the biggest piece of what I do. And in my own experience, like I had an experience this week of being listened to, oh my God, in a way that had not been listened to in forever, like in years. I can't remember, honestly, like it'd been years. And it felt so yummy. It felt so good. Oh my God. I was like energetically like buzzing. I felt like I dropped off pounds of luggage somewhere, and just like, oh my God, I'd been carrying around all that stuff, all the paperwork. Like it felt like, because what we as women, we love to tell stories. We need to tell stories. We need to share. And like, I think the biggest kind of symbol, or like, it's like coffee, it's like whether you drink coffee or not, it's like having a coffee with someone, like having that kind of intimate space where there's no judging. There's the word judging doesn't even belong. You could look at it, you could label it through so many ways. Like I think of like Rogers, person-centered therapy, which is when Rogers came into the pictures, Carl Rogers, it's like it's not about me, the therapist, imposing my agenda about what we should talk about in here and what's wrong with you kind of situation. It became about like, what does the person think who's actually here, and I'm honored to get to listen to them and hear them and simply reflect what I'm hearing them say and have a conversation. Because we live in a dual world. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, we just bottom line, we can't do things by ourselves. We have this thing called blind spots, like, in the car, where you learn that you have to use the mirrors to see things that you can't see. And therapy, a good therapist, because there's a lot of crappy therapists out there, like a lot of them, therapy in its highest form is that. It's like your mirror for blind spots. Like that's all it is. Maybe in some instances, your translator for your own soul language, because sometimes I work with dreams or like symbols. I study depth psychology, and like we just lose touch a little bit with like our heart language, our soul language. We know it, and we just need someone to kind of remind us a little bit. And then once we really like remember it and the person accurately reflects it to us, we're like, yes, that's it. So anyway, this is like what I do. Like, I'm a therapist and this is what I do. And like, I don't always know what to, like, I admit it's one of my challenges, like, as a soul incarnating on this planet, to become like better at like the marketing and like, it's not, I'm not a Virgo. I'm not a, like, it's not, doesn't feel very easy for me. It doesn't come so easily to me sometimes to like know what I'm supposed to say, to invite you into a conversation with me. That's vulnerable and honest. And you know what? What's strange is that I've also unearthed something really big, which I wasn't, it's just coming through right now, is that I have this whole thing with the English language. Like, it's my second language. I learned it when I was 5, but that's why I sound like a native speaker. But I have a much easier time, like in Spanish, like connecting to, I don't know, like this sort of natural sense of authority in myself in Spanish. And in English, I think it's because it was the second language and there were other kids who it was their second, you know, it was their first language when I came to live in California, that it's sort of a little bit of a stretch for me sometimes to, you know, and I have like the external, you know, I went to Columbia University. I was always really good at academics. I'm like, I've, you know, won awards, all that kind of stuff. Like, I have that, but at a very emotional, raw, like animal place, like that is a growing edge for me to connect in English with English speaking tribe to that space. And yeah, I'm just sharing with you that it can feel sometimes like vulnerable for me to do that. And aw, why laughter? Oh, all the emotions. I got all of the emotions. Is that Olivia? I got all of them. Yeah. I know it does. It brings up a lot of stuff that what I just said, it can be like, what the fuck? Like, totally. So I felt called earlier as I was reconnecting into my grounded and my body and myself. Like, what am I doing? What do I have to get done? What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? And I felt called to come on here and speak only because I felt like someone out there would benefit from my own experience and my own journey. And that I felt called to share it, even if it was with one person, and to share my experience and my strength and my hope, as they say in 12-step programs. So as a therapist, I have a lot of clarity around how I'm a therapist. I'm also creative. As I was sharing, I dance, I do Zoom, I'm a mom, and I'm a writer. All of these things are important. And as a multi-passionate person, I can get a little bit like, oh my God, where is this going? You know, like I want to like get somewhere. And I can imagine that some of you might relate sometimes. Like, I think feminine energy is very circular in general. Like, not to even get into like codependency, which is that we get like really involved in other people's stuff and then we need to like come back. Like, not even going into that, that's like a whole other life, which I've already promised in the Spanish speaking group. It's like, how do we know we'll find our way home? And so my tips, because I know tips are a good like grounded way to share with you, are physical exercise, like doing actual physical exercise. Again, it's just like connecting with my body and feeling what the sensations are and like how I'm feeling and what's there. It's like a really, really grounding medicine for me. Any kind of routine or structure, like lists, and is really helpful for me. Like, too much structure can be really suffocating for me. I can get really annoyed and resistant of structures sense, but they really help me. And so they might help you too. And sometimes I just need to do like a brain dump, and then like I do some spiritual practice, some movement, and then I can like finally make a final list of what needs to get done. And then we spoke a little bit about balance in the other group, and some of the balance has to do with what do I have to get done? Like, what do I have to get done, like on an earthly plane? Like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna, like, I need to call the lawyer. I need to like call the internet company, whatever. And then I also throw in there, like, what does my soul need to do? What is my soul actions? Are you talking about integrity and like how you are your word? And did you say you would do something? Why aren't you doing it? Deal with it. Like the fears, the resistance, or the truth that it's not really yours. Honor your agreements, especially the ones with yourself. And it doesn't mean you have to do everything that you said you would do, but deal with it powerfully. Like you really realize that it was something that you said you would do, but it was really coming from a place of like people pleasing, let's say. Then deal with it powerfully, like communicate about it with the person, or like make a decision with yourself to come from a place of integrity in your words and with yourself. So like that is something that I will say no to in the future. For example, be gentle and compassionate with yourself. You know, I think it's the only way. Stay connected with people, opportunities, and stay open. And like connecting with others is really the only way to grow. And we are all one. We're one, you know, we're one huge collective like bioorganism in one sense. Like we're all interdependent. So being open to feedback and like returning to that therapy mirror example, like that's why we need one another. You know, that's why we need some form of, I'm always having a therapist or a coach or some kind of great friend or healer, because we need the mirroring. We need someone to mirror to us our blind spots. We need someone to show us what we can't see without looking in the mirror, right? And it doesn't make us weak. It just makes us human. Like I think that's a huge idea, like an old conditioned belief that we have. And that's part of why I have hesitated with the whole therapist, even though it gives me, you know, yay, she studied therapy, like kind of gives you prestige on the one hand, but people think of us as quacks. Sometimes there's jokes and all of that. And I love therapy. Like it's given me so much. When I have a great therapist, like I get so much. And so yeah, stay connected with people. Don't like isolate. That's one of the biggest, like, when we isolate, then we tend toward like self-sabotage. So the last two things are stay in action, but then allow yourself to rest and like to trust yourself to know to rest when you have to, because usually these fallow periods allow you to really show up when you have times of action. And then last but not least is like there is a flood of information about everything out there. Like anything you want, any topic you want, you're going to have a flood of information, especially all of you who are on the online space. There's just so much stuff. And in the end, like your strategy, your own inner wisdom is your own guidance system. Like you be true to you, which is the topic of this Facebook Live. And it's just something so healing about taking and making the space to listen into yourself. So like sometimes I have questions or topics that I'm like, you know, moving around in my head, and I'm like, what do I do about this? And when I actually just sit down and it doesn't have to take long. It can just take 2 minutes or whatever you have to sit down and just focus on the question, like, what do I want to talk about today in this live? Or what do I want to, the answers are there. They're inside of us. And we just need to create the space and the time. And then there's sometimes stuff that stands in our way. Like we'll realize when we do agree on, like, I really want to do this, but what's been coming up is like, I'm stuck on this relationship and it's really draining on me emotionally, blah, blah, blah. And so like, we can deal with it powerfully when we recognize it. Once we recognize, like, oh wow, there's all this stuff I have to do, and there's this resistance, so I really have to deal with the resistance. I have to deal with this relationship. So then maybe I have to communicate powerfully, or I have to seek support around it, or I have to do a ritual around it, do something to deal with that, and then I can free my energy to focus on the stuff I have to do to get closer to my goals. Does that make sense? And there's my son again. Oh my God, that scared me. It was so focused. So that is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something out of it. And I love you, ladies, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. I'm gonna go enjoy the eating with my son, and I hope you do the same. What's up, little guy? Okay. Okay, I have to go help my son and do some stuff. So please comment. Let me know, how is your what is your dance? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts, because it's about a dialogue and I want to hear. Bye.